November 7th, 2010. I call this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of North Hudson to order. I would ask the clerk if she will please take the roll.
Trustee Cawthorn?
Here.
President Klein?
Here.
Trustee O'Brien Berglund?
Here.
Stanifer?
Here.
Thomas is absent. Wecken?
Here.
And Zappa.
Here. All right. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 4th. Those meeting minutes are in front of you, and I would assume that you've already read them very carefully, looking for all the minor errors. And
we've got a couple of them to approve.
yes, we do. I'd like to do one at a time. Do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes of November 4th?
I'll move to accept the board meeting minutes for November 4th, 2010.
Thank you, Colleen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a motion. All in favor of accepting the minutes of November 4th indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Second set of meeting minutes are, actually we have three sets, don't we? Next one is the special board meeting of October 27th. Those meeting minutes are in front of you also.
I move approval of special board meeting on October 27th, 2010.
Thank you, Joe. Second by?
Second.
Thank you, Colleen. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes of October the 27th indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And finally, the special board meeting on Monday, November 1st. I hear a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the special board minutes of November 1st, 2010.
Any discussion? Oh, need a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes as written and submitted indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Item number 3, any comments from the floor? This is an opportunity for our residents to make the board aware of any topics or issues and opportunities not on today's agenda. Moving right along, item number 4, new business from the board and staff. I had a few items on a list that I would like to bring to the public's attention. As I have done in the past, I will continue to do this at this time when daylight escapes us all too often. The topic is conspicuity. It comes from the word conspicuous. When you're out walking your dog after you've gotten home from a long day's work, and you're walking your black lab down the dark street, and you're wearing your black jeans and your black jacket and your black skull cap, I can't see you. I would ask you, please, when you're out and it's dark, would you carry some sort of a light or at least wear reflective gear? We talked about this last year, and I talked about how accessible and how easy it is to go to any store. There are several stores in the area who will sell you reflective jackets, vests, so that you can be seen. Thank you. Conspicuity. I like that word. A letter of praise. I saw this in the Hudson Star-Observer. It was the November 4th edition. Most local bars, liquor stores pass the check. And as I looked over the list, I saw that every establishment in the village that dispenses or sells alcoholic beverages was in the list as having been approved by the St. Croix Underage Drinking Coalition, who conducted a series of compliance checks. So I just want to pass that along as a thank you to our establishments for following the letter of the law. Item number 3, I'm sure Gloria or Becky had planned on talking about this, but I'm going to mention it also. And that is, now's the time to get your nomination papers in if you would like to run for the Board of Trustees or if you want my job. If you'd like to run for president of the board, this is the year for you. Feel free to stop in, see our clerk, Becky, and she'll provide you with a packet, and all you need to do is get 20 names. Anything you want to add to that, Becky?
I would just say that the deadline for filing your nomination papers is January 4th of 2011, so we just need to have your documentation in by that time. If you are currently a board member and you are not planning to run, I would need to know that by December 27th. That is it.
Thank you, Becky. And finally, item number 4 on my list is input for annual letters to the residents. I would ask all the trustees as well as the staff, if there's anything that you would like included in the annual letter to the residents, please forward it to me so I can include that. I have been working on this document. It's kind of a fun document, and that may seem strange to some of you, but it gives me a chance to go back and look at the minutes from the last 12 meetings. And what were the highlights? What are those things that we want the public to know about? And so please feel free. Send me an email. Tell me, hey, don't forget to talk about such and such. The other thing I will also mention on this topic is that if you would like to see this annual letter to the residents, it will be online at the village's website, and you can also pick up a hard copy right outside Becky's window. And it, of course, is not going to be ready for a few weeks yet, so give me some time with that. And that's all I have. I now will turn this over to Gloria.
Thank you,
Anything?
Jordan. Well, in front of you, you'll see a tax levy and mill rate worksheet. And just so that you know, these numbers have gone up to the county. They have not been certified yet, but we're anticipating a village mill rate of 3.89 and a total overall mill rate of 15.21. Any questions, or that's all I really have.
Gloria, that mill rate of 15.21 is down from 2009.
It is
So, well, what happened?
hard work.
Hard work. Thank you very much.
Are these, can I ask you a question? Is the other ones that are listed, the state, village, Hudson School District, are those the ones that are going in? Or are those the numbers for those taxing authorities too?
Based on our proportionment of what their needs are. Did I say that right, Daryl? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? This is quite a document.
Can I ask you a question then?
I wonder if this is something that we might want to put out on put it out on the website?
Certainly.
I think this
I'd wait
is-
until the county has
As soon as they're,
certified it. Yeah.
and what timeline, maybe I should ask Darrell, do you know what the timeline is for the county to certify this?
Kind of a first come, first serve, huh?
Yeah, really. I need to verify that with Lori when
Okay.
that certification is done. But if this is done by the latter part of December, we'd be fine.
Great. I'd like to see it out on the website. People, I think, might find it very valuable. I know I sure do. And I'll include some of this information in the annual letter as well. Okay?
Okay.
Anything
Pretty
else?
evident there's a hold-the-line approach here across the board.
Could.
So,
There's a what?
Yeah, because
Hold
this
the
is
line
lower and you
approach
multiply
across
Yes.
by that. Yep.
That, Darrell, please say that again so everybody can hear that. That very
Well,
important.
I just said it's pretty evident that there is a hold-the-line approach across the board by the taxing jurisdictions.
Yes.
But it does look like the taxes will go down, right?
Correct.
How often do we hear that?
Even though we lost 22,000 in, we got 22,000 less in school credits from last year.
Mhm.
If that had been equal, our taxes really would have went down, but we lost that. So I think for overall, it's really really good.
Yes. Becky, do you have anything else?
I don't.
All right. Excuse me just a moment.
Maybe just announce it.
Number 5?
She must have
Yeah.
forgotten.
Okay. We were going to introduce Cheryl Schmidt, our new deputy treasurer, and I'll bet she just forgot to
It
come
could
back.
be.
Okay. I'm delighted with Cheryl on board, and since she's the deputy treasurer and I have the treasurer sitting next to me, Gloria, anything you want to say?
She's a very pleasant person to work with, dives into everything. I found it very pleasing to give her some more complicated task and to have her come back with it completed without any changes. So it's been very nice.
Very good, very good. If you haven't met Cheryl yet, stop in. She works on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. We have now dispatched items 1 through 5 on the agenda. Item 6, the 2011 mobile home park license. I would ask somebody to make a motion.
I move approval of the 2011 mobile home trailer park permit for Pamela Zappa.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item number 7. Formation of the Union Contract Negotiation Ad Hoc Committee. You have the information in front of you, the topic, the background, and a suggested motion. We just want to make sure that our negotiations are legal. So I would ask someone to read that motion.
Move to approve the formation of the Union Contract Negotiation Ad Hoc Committee to include Village President George Klein, Public Safety Committee Chair Joe Cawthorn, Village Administrator Gloria Troyster, and North Hudson Police Chief Mark Richard. This ad hoc committee shall be formed for the specific purpose of negotiating with the WPPA union successor contract and will be abolished upon approval of the contract.
Second.
For those out there in TV land watching this and wondering what's this all about, the board did give us approval to negotiate on behalf of the village. The law is clear and something we hadn't done in the past, and that is we are required by law to create an ad hoc committee. And if the board passes this this motion, it will have been formed. Any questions?
And the only thing I would add, it says, and will be abolished. Basically, the ad hoc committee will be abolished upon approval of the contract. I think that's what the intended purpose of that sentence was, in case you're reading
Oh,
that.
not you
wondering-
and me.
Oh, I
Well,
thought it meant you
just
guys
what was
would be
abolished.
abolished.
I just
withdraw my
wanted to be
second.
clear, it's the
Subject to the
committee,
sentence, ad
not
hoc
anything
committee.
personal.
Oh,
But you can take it the way you want.
Yes. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, the Plan Commission. And I don't see our chair from the Plan.
Chairman
Commission.
Meiser actually called this afternoon and said he had a commitment that came up last minute for this evening. So I guess I would just say that we have a representative here from SNN, and we'll talk about Whispering Oaks. That was the only item that was discussed at the Plan Commission meeting in November. The minutes are in front of you. There really wasn't anything else. So if John wants to discuss it briefly.
John, do you want to?
Can you give a quick summary initial of
Sure,
what
please
was,
use- Yeah, just use
understand
it.
what happened for this project? John Sonte with SNN Land Surveying here on behalf of NWP Land Holdings. This is a project that's been going on for quite some time. I believe the actual board may have had some discussion initially when we looked at more of overall road infrastructure when we initially came through, I think even with a couple lots for a certified survey map. The original few lots that were created were, there's 2 lots and a 3rd lot. That was the original step of this whole project, and that went through all the applicable parties for approval. And then at 1.2, we also came about some discussion of fees. But other than that, there's been a lot of activity with the Village Plan Commission, the Town Plan Commission, Town Board, St. Clair County, Wisconsin DNR. So we've gone through all the steps of the preliminary plat approval process, and it was granted approval with all jurisdictions. And at this point now, they're looking at just phasing this in 3 steps for construction. The first phase, they're going to consider maybe just doing some clearing and grubbing yet this year, and then with the bulk of the construction early next spring. And that portion of construction is what's represented on the final plat. And I don't know if anybody wants additional copies of, I've got just copies of the final plat and or the original preliminary plat that was approved.
We have copies of those, John, in our packet.
Yeah.
And then again, preliminary plat-wise overall layout, just for your information, there was a lot of discussion about connectivity, which was preferred, which wasn't preferred, a lot of different opinions, but the end result was connection to Miller Road. That will be completed with this first phase. And then in the future, there will be dedicated land over towards the Pheasant Trail, private community over there, but not built. It'll be there for availability. If in such time that becomes public, that direction, then there's that land available for completing that connection, and or if water and sewer was ever needed, there's also that opportunity to come through that location. So from the preliminary plat, nothing has really changed to the final plat. I mean, everything is what was there approved by the preliminary plat, and we've got board approval of the final plat, Plan Commission approval of the final plat. St. Clair County, we're going to wait to submit. They usually like to hold their approval until things are actually completed construction-wise, so that if there's anything else, loose ends they want tied up before the plat's recorded and lots are sold, they have that opportunity. So no lot will be sold until basically everything, that first phase is built, then it gets recorded, and then they can start selling lots. So with that, if there's any questions on either the overall layout or just this final plat, I can sure give it a shot.
A lot of original discussion on the length of the road up to the cul-de-sac,
Yep.
which exceeded 1,000 feet, and that was one of the reasons for the stub road off to Pheasant Trail to the west. Is that still then a requirement
Sure.
because of the length from the connection at Miller up to the cul-de-sac?
Yes, originally Miller Road came here right about here. We came in a little bit straighter, and so then from this point to the end of the cul-de-sac, we were, I think, 1,200 feet or so. And at some point, the town asked for this connection, so then as I understand, our assumption that this would be the starting point, but because it wasn't built, the county did not agree with that position. So as an alternative, since the town did not want this built, we couldn't start counting there. We realigned Miller Road slightly to have the starting point right there, so now it's 1,000 feet from right there to the end of the cul-de-sac. So that was the way to comply with everybody's interpretation of that. The village kind of has that 1,000 foot. The town kind of administers some of it, and the county has it. And it's, like I said, that was the end result, to make sure we can comply with everybody's interpretation of that requirement.
We had you come up there before we had a motion, so I will now ask someone to read the suggested motion.
Well,
Go ahead, Stan.
Move to approve the final plat of West Spring Oaks, Phase 1, an extraterritorial subdivision located in the town of Hudson. Applicant John Parati, NWP Holdings LLC, with the following conditions. 1, the developer must provide the Village of North Hudson with a signed recorded copy of the final plat. The developer is hereby notified that the village does approve, or approval does not constitute approval by the town of Hudson, St. Clair County Planning and Zoning Department, or any other reviewing authority.
Second.
Thank you, Stan. Well done. The motion that you just heard read, John, does that, do you have any problems or any issues with that?
Oh, that's fine.
then I would ask the board. All in favor of the motion that Stan just read indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you very much.
Well, John, thank you.
Thanks, John.
I appreciate that opportunity to say yes or no. If I'm not liking those conditions, every once in a while, you'll stand up there and there'll be conditions read off you never heard before.
I didn't see any conditions on there.
Just the flat.
Yeah.
Good night, John.
John.
The Finance Committee this evening was quite busy and only finished, I guess we could say, maybe half of the business presented. So there will be plenty of opportunity for this board to ask questions and for all of us to discuss some of the contracts that we're being asked to approve this evening. Be that as it may, the first thing I would ask for is someone to read the motion for us to pay our bills.
Move to approve the November 2010 non-recurring claims totaling $34,721.10.
Thank you, Darrell.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions about any of the bills? I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Zampa.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Yes.
Yes.
Next, item B is Resolution 2010-15, adopting an employee health plan and employee contributions for 2011.
I'll make a motion that the board accept or approve resolution number 2010-15 requiring village employees to make contributions to medical and dental coverage. And the highlights of it are indicated there well, I think they're indicated on the sheet there, and we've talked about this before, but I recommend approval of that resolution number. Not to make a long, involved motion there, Becky, but I didn't want to read it all.
Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stan.
And just so, we've talked about this for several months, and this is the agreement the board had, I think, about a month or two ago, so this is no new news. There's no change here.
In fact, at the opening of the meeting in item number 2, we approved the minutes of the meeting that we had that came up with this, so. Do a roll call vote. We'll start with you this time, Stan.
Yes.
Darrell? Oh, he's thinking. Okay. George, yes?
Yes.
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 Next item is staff vacation compensation time carryover. This is something we do every year because every year there is at least somebody who has some carryover. Question came up during the Finance Committee meeting. Why do we bother to do this? And the answer is because it's in is it in the handbook? Because it's in the handbook, and that's why we do it. So I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend approval of, the request for 2010 village employee comp time and vacation days carried over to 2011 as indicated.
Second.
Thank you, Colleen. Any discussion? This does not directly involve any money, so I'll just ask for all in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The next one's service rates for 2011. We do this every year. There has actually been only minor adjustments, and I think Becky gave you a handout from, it was on the table. This was from last year, from 2010 to 2011. You can see I'm trying to find some significant changes. There really aren't any on here, so I would ask.
Approval, George, of the service rates for 2011.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Thank you, Stan. Any discussion? Any questions? I see that Mark has added a couple items on here. regarding, just, let's say, a little bit more detail regarding the snow plow and so on. Any other comments? All in favor of the equipment service rates indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, now we're gonna take a look at a series of contracts. And the first one we have, I'm gonna turn this over to Joe for a brief discussion
Okay,
of the fire contract. I am not asking for a motion on this one to open the discussion.
okay. Yeah, essentially, what I'd like to do is review what's changing in the contract and maybe the reasons for it. The reasons that we're not asking for a motion to approve the contract is because we wanted the board to have some time to digest this contract, and we'll talk about it again the first part of January. Also, Terry will have a chance to look at it from a legal requirement and see what sort of things that he would have us change. But if we approve this at our next board meeting, then the cost reduction that we can get from the city of Hudson for our portion of the contract, which supports the fire department, will be approved, and we can save roughly $5,000 or $6,000. But we have until January 15th to do that. And again, we have to approve it, and the other 3 municipalities have to approve it in order for that to go forward. And the reason that we're having somewhat of a new contract, I mean, obviously, everybody knows that we get our fire protection through the city of Hudson, their equipment, they manage that, and then they prorate the charges for that service out to the communities that get the service. And how that's been done in the past, it's been done on the valuation of the total valuation of the property within that particular community. And as the fire board was looking at that, and we've been talking about this for 6 months or so, we noticed that the cost based on equalized valuation is a certain amount, and yet if you look at the number of calls within the community, they don't necessarily line up. And so a number of the parties involved thought that the city of Hudson perhaps should be picking up more of the charges for that service because they were actually getting more calls on a percentage basis than the valuation would indicate. I hope that's relatively clear. And so we've been talking about that, and what we've got an agreement, and I think it's through their city council now, but what we've got an agreement is that for 2011, we would have the distribution of services would be based on 75% of equalized valuation and 25% distribution of the average number of 5-year runs. And that's just the number of calls within the community. And then in 2012, it would be 50-50, 50% on valuation and 50% on runs, and that's the way it would carry out in the future. However, and that sounds fair, however, the city wanted some protection because these contracts are only good for 1 year. And so they wanted to have a rolling contract for 10 years that obligates the municipalities that are involved to a 10-year obligation with their contract. And essentially that protects them in case they buy a bunch of equipment or a bunch of equipment is purchased for the fire department, and then all of a sudden somebody leaves. Well, then how is that fair to the rest of the people that are in that agreement? And so they suggested, and what I would propose too is that we do have a rolling period of 10 years from January 1, 2011 through December 31st, 2020. To do this. And what it essentially says is you can get out of the contract, at any time you want, but, you have to give them essentially 9 years' notice. You can say in 2012, I want out of this contract, but you're obligated through 2011 to support that. And the changes for that are based on, capital equipment, and one of the, and it's in purchase of capital assets, item number 5. Essentially, for example, it says in here, if capital purchase for the fire department exceed $1 million in any 1 year, the cost of the municipalities receiving service from the fire department under this agreement may be spread over a period not to exceed 20 years. However, if it's less than $1 million, they spread that over a 10-year period. But what this contract means is that we essentially have to pick up our portion of the tab for 10 years. And this it gets complicated even to talk about, but essentially, if 2015 we decide we want out, so we got 9 more years, and then 2016 we buy $1 million worth of equipment, or the fire board does that really obligate us for the remaining 10 years of the contract for that piece of equipment? And there is a clause in here that basically says, no, you don't have to pay for that 10 full years because you're basically, you're opting out. And you opted out in 2015. The board approved it in 2016. So, you really don't have to pay that 9 years on that. But you got to pay the other 9 years of the rest of the service. So you can't get out of the contract necessarily completely. The other thing is a number of the municipalities are concerned about the additional expense associated with a new building, should they expand the fire department wherever, and the cost associated with that. And therefore, we didn't necessarily want to be tied into a 10-year rolling contract if the city council of Hudson says we want to spend $4 or $5 million or bond $50 million for a new building and whatever, and then we get charged for that. Essentially, what this contract allows us to do, if there's a payment for cost of land or buildings and that's acquired for the fire department, then this contract needs to be renegotiated. We can renegotiate the contract at that time. So essentially, the contract allows us to continue to get service from the city of Hudson. It allows some insurance to the city of Hudson that we're going to be there for 10 years to pay for it. It also allows us some protection that if the costs associated with certain capital equipment and we decide to get out, we don't necessarily have to pay for the full depreciation of that if we got out before that particular capital equipment was approved. And if they want another building, meaning the fire board along with the city council, but primarily the city council, if they decide to do something, then we renegotiate the service contract. That is essentially it. I'll be happy to take any questions, but we're trying to, I guess what I'd like to do is kind of move this thing along. If you'd think about this over the next 30 days, we'll come back in the first part of January and hopefully approve it. Terry will look at it from a legal point of view and give us his changes and recommendations for that. But as I understand it, I think the city of Hudson, the city council, has approved their portion of it. Again, we need we need to approve it, and the other 2 municipalities have to approve it for it to go forward. But the good news is it does save us roughly, as you can see on the Exhibit A, it would save us almost $6,000 next year, and then in 2012 it would save us roughly $12,000 if we adopted this kind of a schedule.
Joe, this contract is so thorough and there's so much detail in it that I almost feel obligated to point out one other thing, and that is on page 2, right at the top would be 4E, and that is that these percentages and the equalized value calculation also be rolling, so that
yes, they are. Yes, they are.
It would be nice to see it in print.
Okay. All right.
I would make the assumption, of course, it would be rolling 5 years, but because of the level of detail and the other stuff, may as well put that in as well. Mark?
I was gonna move approval, but how do I move approval
We're not-
with that? We're not,
We're not voting on it tonight.
Yeah.
oh, I thought Joe was talking
No.
about moving it along to,
I just wanted to move the discussion along
Oh,
so that
oh.
we didn't,
We're gonna-
I thought we had to move this to the
Yeah.
next level of,
No, this was strictly discussion tonight, and we're gonna talk about some of these other contracts that are pretty much, yep, but this is something that is quite different in many aspects, and it's something I think the Finance Committee agrees needs all of us to take a very close look at before we approve it, because it was just dropped on the table this evening. And in fact, I think I saw something on here, the printed date was 12/6 at 2:20
It's new,
this afternoon.
it's new, yeah. Yeah, their
I'd like the ink
their
to
legal
dry
coun-
before I vote on it.
Well, their legal counsel just got it off of their desk, I think, yesterday. But it does appear, to be fair to everybody and provides protection for everybody. And so I think it is a better contract than we had before. And so I think we need to move in that direction, and the city has been, I think, very good in terms of working with us on this. And
Joe, you pointed something out during our Finance Committee discussion that I would like to bring to the board's attention, and that is that this contract also protects the village. If one of the other municipalities decided to opt out, we could be left holding a much larger purse. And this contract then obligates them to that additional 9 years as well. So it is looking out for this contract does look out to protect us. Any other discussion?
So I should quit shopping for fire equipment?
No, you could probably if you're in your house when the fire breaks out, you're probably quicker at that, but don't rely on a garden hose during December or January.
no, I just think we ought to have it on our to-do list to review it independently and then move it along in January and get it signed.
Well, speaking of moving along,
Thank you.
I'd like to go to the second contract that we have in front of us, the ambulance service, St. Croix EMS. This contract stays virtually unchanged. You'll notice the rates did not change. They are still at $12.50 per person, which is just the method that is used to calculate the obligation for the village of $46,150 for the year 2011. And so I would ask if someone will please make a motion on this one.
Motion to approve the ambulance service contract with St. Clair EMS.
Thank you, Stan.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. Any discussion, any questions that you might have of that? You'll notice the financial obligation to each of the 4 municipalities is on page 2. The population, which is used to calculate those numbers. All right, this is a contract, and so I would ask for a roll call vote. We'll start with you this time, Mark.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 In front of you, you do not see a copy of the contract for maintenance and supplies for Hubish Service, because that is Becky, is that a 2 or 3 year contract? I know it's,
I
You
believe
recall?
it was
we're currently under a
we're
contract
under
with them.
contract till 2012.
Yeah, so we like to annually list those companies and those vendors who we do have contracts with, so there's no approval necessary on that one. Nor is there one for the village assessor. Post Appraisals is the company, and I don't have anything else to say about that. Do you, Gloria? Anything to add? Okay, the next item is you do have the contract in front of you. It's for the building inspector and zoning administrator, and that would be Brian Wirt. The Finance Committee did discuss this. We had some questions, some issues that centered on the fees. And you'll notice on page 7, where it says compensation, that there is a fee schedule. It's set up by the village, and that fee schedule is Schedule A, which you do not have in front of you. It is on file, however, with the clerk. So if you'd like to see that. This contract does not have those dollars and cents in there because if you take out a permit, you get that directly from Brian Wirt, and fees associated come out of that. These are not fees that are paid to the contractor by the village. So that's why those numbers aren't in there. Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept this contract as presented.
I'll move to approve the independent contractor agreement between building inspector and zoning administrator in the village of North Hudson.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Start with you this time, Stan.
Yes.
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 And that is where we left off during finance. So we're about to move into the engineering contract, and that's with Cedar Corporation. And we do have a representative from Cedar Corp here. And if necessary, I'm sure that Kevin could answer any and all questions you might have regarding engineering services. Blair, do you have anything you want to say? This is continuing what I think has been excellent service from Cedar Corp. And I thank you, Kevin,
Yes,
for your role in that.
The reason you don't see the original contract is quite lengthy, and it would have burnt up probably a ream of paper, so to get every 14 copies of it.
I
so.
have seen that contract. I'm glad that you said why it wasn't in here.
And that's at 25 cents a sheet, too.
Yeah.
According to this contract.
Well, we would no, we'd pass those charges along to
Sure.
Cedar Corp, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
So am I.
Is there any changes to this contract?
No, it's just an amendment, just the term for another 2 years.
And
Okay.
these rates are the same.
Can I move
From-
to approve the agreement to amend and extend engineering services contract with Cedar Corporation?
Second.
Further discussion or any questions? All right, Mark, you want to start the?
Yes.
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 Motion passed.
And maybe before you go to the next one, the reason I didn't answer right away, I was just wondering, I don't have any problem with the providers of the services that we've got here. I mean, I think they're all providing good service. But did we enlist any RFPs from any alternative providers on any of these, or are we just automatically re-upping with the people that we've got?
Glad you asked, because that is our plan for this year. We needed to have these services for the year 2011. So part of our to-do list for 2011 is to do
I just think that's
exactly
wise.
that.
And I'll say that right here with Kevin here, I think Cedar Corp provides excellent services to the village, but, you know, we used to get tested every day when I was still at work, and, you know, I just think that that's advisable.
I used to get tested every day in school.
Yeah.
Oh,
How'd that work out for you?
got me here, didn't it? Actually, we not only want to do the RFPs, but we look over some of these things and ask, just as an example, and if Hubish Services is listening, that's okay. We need to start to take a look, and is that something we really need? Could we save if we didn't have that the services of that company come in and take away our mats and have them shampooed, or could we do that over at Mark's Car Wash?
I think those are the kinds of things that we should look at.
And we're going to be looking at that in 2011.
Good.
Who knows? We might actually even look at our contract with, what's the name of your company?
Baki Norman.
Baki Norman. See how that's going. So, yes, thank you for bringing that up, Darrell. It gave me an opportunity to talk about our plan for 2011.
George, I don't believe Baki Norman has a contract. We offer a full 100% satisfaction guarantee, and it's, if If you guys don't want us around anymore, let us know.
20
24-hour notice? Is that?
We'll help you to the door.
But we're not locking you into a year's worth of service.
Some of these are 2 years, you know, like that Cedar Corp outfit, 2 years.
We're so easy to work with, I would think they would do this pro bono.
You keep thinking that, Darrell. I notice I don't have a contract for the auditor. Is that because?
We need to do the RFP on that. We don't,
Okay.
we don't have a contract. We sign a, management letter at the end of the year when they're doing their audit. But it is something that needs to be,
We didn't have anybody.
I think all of these contracts got listed as things that should
Sure.
be looked at. Some of them are still good, like the Peter Post one is still in effect, but they are all things that we need to address at some point.
Very good. So we just had a discussion about that one. And now we move on to number 8, which is the Animal Humane Society. And you do have a letter of understanding in front of you. It's a letter of understanding for impound housing services for 2011. I want to make it clear, this is not the, this is not for Kathy, is it? Kathy
No,
Beller?
it's not for the
This
warden.
is, even though they're stapled together, it's not a contract with Kathy. It is a contract, or a letter of understanding with the Animal Humane Society. Do we,
The only
is there a
change,
motion that we need on this one?
yeah. There,
This would be for services for 1 year, for
Yeah, I-
2011, correct?
I would make one comment on that letter of understanding business. You know, contracts are, if there's an agreement that people have agreed, both sides have agreed, you do this, I'll do that, no matter what you title it, it's still a contract.
Yeah. So this is in effect, even though it says letter of understanding, it's still a contract.
Yeah, I would say so. Because the village is agreeing to do things, the Humane Society is agreeing to do things.
There's a list there, A through H, of what the Humane Society agrees to provide. And it's quite a lengthy list.
I
Anything
did
you wanna-
ask them if there was any changes in rates or anything, and there were none. The only change that I would say is on the attachment. It still has HSCA listed, and it should be Animal Humane Society Shelter of Woodbury. That was a name change that happened, and that's the only change from what you guys have compared to what.
I think these points and fees are reasonable, but having said that, if we would not, for whatever reason, approve this contract, my question is there any alternative? I don't think there is, right? So I mean, it's this
We went
one or
round and
nobody,
round
right?
A year ago with this same thing.
Yeah.
Mark, Mark, I did hear that, and I'm not so sure that the public would go with that, if you know what I mean. Unless your brother was gonna dig the hole.
Well, can I move approval of this letter of understanding?
You sure can, Mark.
If you understand it.
If we could ask them to change that to label it a contract and to put in the appropriate name change for their entity.
We don't need to change the labeling, do we? It can remain as letter of, is that what you're saying, that you want it changed to contract?
No, it's a contract. I'm just letting you guys know, this is a contract, no matter what they've named it.
Well, then,
Yeah,
if
I think
those
they're
other
good to go,
two
yeah.
We're okay.
items don't matter, then I'll move to approve it as it stands.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions regarding this contract? Start with you this time, Stan.
Yes.
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 The excitement is, okay, contract tree and.
They can start tomorrow. There's a couple feral cats that are in my backyard almost every day.
They don't chase the deer away?
No, no, I wouldn't mind then. They get the birds.
They play together. It's
I don't think they
Actually,
take
one of
feral
They don't
cats
take feral
anymore.
cats.
I think you're right.
It's free.
AS,
Go
or
figure.
AHS will not accept feral cats seized under municipal authority
Um,
because of the
Let's
lawsuit.
say
was
that a
involved.
little bit louder, because it's interesting you bring that up. Item 2C, AHS will not accept feral cats seized under municipal authority by your city's CSO or ACO.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're probably not feral cats, they're just cats that don't have a home at the moment.
Oh, so they're non-feral.
Yeah, they're just homeless cats.
We do try to have some levity here at these meetings to break the monotony, and I hope we're succeeding. The
It's gotta be bad humor if you gotta explain it, maybe.
A joke you've got to explain as much as a joke.
And it's not funny at all, then, is it? The final contract for your review is the tree and stump removal contract.
What a-
St. Croix Tree Service, and you see the rates are there, $175 for a tree and $40 for a stump.
Which is no change from last year.
Very good, thank you.
I move approval.
Second.
Just a question, are we in discussion?
Yeah.
Just a question. I don't see anything in here, which I assume answers the question, I just need to ask it. I don't see anything in here that indicates that a village resident could get these costs from St. Croix Tree Service if they would call them. This is only the village itself getting these fees, is that correct?
That is correct. I'm a little reluctant to give you the however. It's been a courtesy of St. Croix Tree for years.
I wouldn't go any further with it. I mean, what happens outside the
That's their
boulevards
business.
is their business, so this is strictly within village property.
Right, right.
All right. Any other questions? I'm lost track here, but it's an odd number, so that'd be Mark. Mark, you want to start?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 All right. Item F.
I move approval of F.
I'll second.
Whoa.
I'll second. In fact, I'll
I got second on that one. I
Stan-
wanted first on
Stan
that one.
beat
Darryl
ya.
beat me too.
furthermore, I'll even contribute $20.
Darryl, since you made the motion, I'm going to ask you to actually get a little more detailed about
Mr.
this.
President, I move approval of the purchase of computer anti-spam software.
Keep going.
That's all I see. What more do you want me to say?
There's
I think there was an indication that I read earlier when I was getting ready for this meeting of $300.
200.
All right, 200 even
Oh, there
better.
was a 300 in there, yeah, that's.
Not to exceed.
Okay, all right. I move to approve the annual purchase of Google Message Security Software at a cost not to exceed $200 and have it installed onto the Village Exchange server at a cost not to exceed $300.
Well,
Stan, you still want to approve that? Or second that?
I'm not a big fan of Google, but yes.
All right. For the folks out there in TV land, we as board members have been getting deluged with spam. Some of it is downright obscene, and I'm saying that with I'm not smiling at all on that.
That's
Some
supposed
of
to
it,
look at.
huh?
That's supposed to be looking at.
Well, when
You can tell what it is without looking
You
at
can
it.
tell what it is by looking at the subject line, and I'm sorry, some of it is outright vulgar. I just deleted 8 messages like that today. They keep coming and coming, and if you want to vote no
All
on that,
emotion.
we're going to have a little chat.
Get rid of them.
So you read them all?
All right, yeah. Oh, you have opened a couple of those.
Yeah. Can we have a vote?
Yeah, I'm starting with Stan.
Definitely yes.
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 Thank you. When's Chris, or is it Eric or Christopher?
Chris,
When's Chris going to be able to do that?
I can have
Tonight?
him here tomorrow.
First thing in the morning.
Okay. First, next one, Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to read this. And let's start with the motion, second, and then we can discuss whatever you'd like.
I move approval of resolution number 2010-16, which is authorizing the distribution of the library impact fees.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. This is money that was collected over a period of approximately 10 years. Is that about right? Correct me if I'm wrong. It is not our money. It is money that could be used only for capital expenses. It is money that cannot be used to pay our operating obligation to the library. Having said that, the plan is that in the very near future, we will pass a resolution. Is it a resolution? Or an ordinance, or we'll amend the
think I
ordinance?
would-
Probably end up
And the-
doing both, but your resolution, I think resolution was the right
Okay.
word for where you're going.
We will have another resolution in which we, hopefully you will agree with me on this, that we will stop collecting any impact or a library impact fee. Any questions? Should also tell you that if we do not approve this, then in the very near future, we would have to start giving that money back to the current property owner of the property.
Who may not be the person that originally paid the money.
Exactly. So, this is the library's money, and we are simply releasing it to them. Any questions? Okay, Mark, want to start with the?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Terry, you didn't have any issues or concerns with that document, or?
No, this is fine.
All right.
I've written it anyway, but.
There's no paper here for Public Works.
Shortest report I've ever given. We did not meet last month. There is no report.
Thank you very much. There is, however, some paper here with, in the public safety. Joe, it's your night. Anything you want
Well,
to-
we met, but you can read whatever is in there. So I have no report.
All right, and I see the chief is here.
He's gone.
He's gone. Okay. And now, Colleen, the moment you've been waiting for.
Yeah. When the village, addition was made to the village hall, the park board had wanted to have the memorial for the veterans as part of that project and agreed to pay for that part. The park board has collected some money for that, and we did not collect the full amount. However, I'm not sure what the full amount is because apparently there's some discrepancies or no one was quite sure. We had thought it was around $6,000. And we had collected $2,547.33. And we would just like to pay that to the village and then also the remainder out of our park fund, whatever is determined we owe.
Is it appropriate for us to have that motion tonight, not knowing what that amount is?
We're asking you to tell us what the board feels is appropriate. The cost was about $6,000
Right.
estimated from Derek's, and looking through all the background, I know there was a lot of discussion on that wall and that the park board was going to pay back, but we're not finding a motion that actually clarifies what that amount is. So we're asking the board to come up with an amount so that we can move on and get reimbursed from the park board.
That's the question.
I'm a little bit
I am too.
confused. Do I
Okay,
throw
that
out
makes
a
three of us in a row all
$1.98
said
or-
the same thing.
Subtract. Is it the?
Yeah,
You know
that's what I
we're
was
trying to do.
asking.
We have to look at that $6,000 number is the one we have to
Do we?
Adjust,
settle on,
yeah, we
and
don't know
then-
what that is.
What? We
We-
don't know what it costs to do the thing out there.
Well, we know it was approximately 6,000,
Okay,
but
well,
we
it's all
don't
done and
know
over
that
with.
the
We're
board,
basically shuffling a little money here from the
Yeah.
park board.
Right.
we don't
Why
know
don't we-
that the
let's
board
pick
didn't
$6,000
settle on
if that's-
3,500. We don't have that documentation that says this is how much they're gonna pay back. So we'd like the board to say,
Who is
is
gonna
it
pay back?
3,500?
No.
Is it,
Who is gonna?
From the park board.
Okay.
From the park board to the general fund.
correct?
And there's $2,547 that was raised through fundraising,
Right.
Yep,
and that's where now, in your account?
yep.
It's in a Veterans Memorial account.
Okay, and so that money would go to the general fund,
Right.
plus you're asking the board to, since the total cost was approximately 6,000, you're asking the board to decide what should the additional contribution besides that 2,500 be?
Right.
And
Isn't it the
should
difference
Should
of
it
those?
come up to about 6,000?
Well, that's what I thought, but then
Well,
Gloria.
I'm saying that we never decided on 6,000. I had to have an amount to put in there because I know that that was approximately what it was cost. But it wasn't determined whether the village was going to, or the general fund was going to help put that wall up. Whether some of that cost would be funded
But
by,
let's- okay,
Why,
let's-
why do,
let's
why do we
assume-
need to do
Yeah, if
this?
this is paid for and done with, and if they can, park board has $2,500 of donations to collect to, we put that in the general fund. Is there any need to do any more with this? Really?
just say that 2,500 is settled, sitting
Okay.
full, and that, I'm just asking for the board to make that,
Go
that
ahead, Mark.
number, that
I
call.
would move that, for the Veterans Memorial Park wall, that the funds collected by the park board, of the amount of $2,547.33 be, moved to the general fund as payment towards that memorial.
So there will be no further additional payment. This is the amount. Okay,
I'll second.
that's all I needed.
So this means that the park board then, that currently has raised that amount, which is quantified, is no longer gonna do any fundraising.
Correct. To pay for the wall.
And just to clarify, you're further saying then that no additional park funds would be moved to the general fund, just the 2,547. Is that your motion, Mark?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
I think that's the motion,
All right.
which has been seconded.
Was a second?
no, I think as it stand, and, we could, I guess we need a second.
Who seconded
I did.
Okay.
it?
I'm not, in answer, go ahead, Darrell.
Well, some of this, I apologize for trying to get a little bit of history here, but some of this occurred before I came on the board. So my question then at this point, if this 2547 that has been raised by Park Board fundraising is now transferred to the general fund to pay a portion of the proposed memorial wall.
No, it's not
The
proposed
wall's
anymore.
there.
It's there.
Where?
It's right in front.
The flag.
The one with the
Honestly,
flags.
it's out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the flags.
They got the plaques, they just haven't mounted them yet.
When we built the building, the funds were, the wall was paid for.
Well, then
With
I
the
really
intent.
apologize. I have never seen this.
Actually, you've seen the wall, but you didn't know that it was a memorial wall because they haven't put
Exactly.
the plaques on it
That was
yet.
part of the construction of this,
Yeah. In fact,
of the new addition.
the way,
Okay, well, then my question becomes moot. I was gonna say, does it commit us to build the wall?
No.
If it's already
It's
there,
there.
I guess, okay.
see, part
Never
of this,
mind.
to me also, is that $6,000 is just, well, it became part of our mortgage on this building. And correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, it's in there, it's just lumped in with the rest of the cost of this building renovation and construction.
Bottom line is if the village residents are contributing in the form of this mortgage, $3,500 to put a veterans memorial in,
That's it.
I don't have any I don't have any
I don't
problem
either.
with that effort.
I don't need
And it's really
Kind of question.
a matter of the fact that everywhere, you talk to one person, they say, no, we were gonna pay 3,500, and no, we were gonna pay 5,000, no, it was 6,000.
No,
And so it became a fact that I needed to have that number from the board, and if they're fine with the 2547.33, then so be it. We're
It-
done.
Basically, it comes down to the veterans contributed $2,547 to the wall, and the village picked up the balance.
Correct.
Well, I'm certainly not opposed to a Veterans Memorial Wall, was not my question. so.
We knew that. That was never a question, I don't think, in anybody's mind. Okay?
there wasn't anything bigger.
Just the right size.
I didn't know where it was.
I thought we were gonna build a wall someplace.
Now, what I find interesting
I always wondered
is,
why you park a block and a half down, Darrell.
But you get better mileage that way.
it's interesting, the park board got involved with this. It almost implies that we have a little park out there
Well, we
in front of the,
had wanted to have a Veterans Memorial and had talked about doing it at Webster Park. Then with the village being remodeled, we thought that this would be more appropriate place for it and get more visibility.
since
And
we're on this topic.
understatement was the key in the
Yeah.
design, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. The plaques are
I-
here.
Do you know, is there any timeline for getting those plaques mounted out there?
They'd have to talk to Mark. He's got the equipment, he's got the mountings.
So Mark, our supervisor of public works, has the plaques.
Yes,
And he has the mounting
yes.
stuff. Okay. We have a motion on this topic, and I'll just start with Stan.
Yes.
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 Do you have anything else, Colleen?
Just that the two boys who did their Eagle Scout projects, Joel Harrington and Tom Hagan, they did pass their Eagle Scout review, so I'd just like to thank them for painting Ferry Landing Park building, and Tom Hagan for the benches in the Chief Jansen Memorial Park.
Very good, thank you. I had no doubt that those boys would be successful at that. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Well, I do. In your board packet, you might see an issue statement regarding the, our XM voice issue.
Actually, on number 12.
Yes.
Park board one.
It was part of public welfare, and I'm doing this
Jim,
for Jim.
I see it here.
And there's quite a bit of detail here. The issue really is that XM Voice went out of business. If we can get your approval tonight, then the next issue for discussion on this topic will be how we collect the names of the people who would want to receive this information. It turns out that there is some privacy issues here. And the village, at the risk of getting in trouble for violating some privacy issues, we're going, as Jim told me the other night on the phone, he said, we already have the forms for the public to fill out. And now all we need to do now is to come up, and public welfare is gonna take care of this, and he will have some suggestions on how to carry it out. We need to figure out the best method for getting everybody who wants to be involved with this program to submit their phone numbers. And what this is all about, and again, this is just all in conversation now, it's just discussion, is what kind of information would the public want to be told about? It could, and there's a couple things listed on here. A fire call, or a call fire. I'm not
George,
sure all the detail on that, but
I've always had a concern with this because does it raise any potential liability? If
that's exactly.
somebody says, you can go back and say, I told you I had a dog here, I told you I had something here, and nothing got done. I'm not very much in favor of something
Okay.
like this. It's more work for all these forms, who's gonna do the collection of this data, and et cetera, plus liability and those items.
Yep, I understand. And that's why I'm saying maybe we want to hold off on this one until Jim can be here, discuss it a little bit more, and iron out, and let public welfare iron out a few of the issues that surround it. The whole idea, it started out to be a good idea, informing people, hey, don't forget, the spring leaf collection is Monday, make sure you have your bags out.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really good idea at the time, and then you start hearing about, why is the village calling me? And, we get that too. So it's, geez, we're trying to provide a service, because I can remember vividly, I think, Joe, you can remember too, when we were being criticized as a board for not being able to communicate with the public.
No,
So-
yes, well, my belief, it's a two-way street
It
with
sure
this whole
is.
thing. So the extra effort when this thing came about, there was no cost to it, it was pretty low level, and I didn't have a problem with it at the time, but the filling out the forms, collecting data, and the associated implications with that whole procedure
Right.
give me reason to pause it at this point with this
What
entire
data,
process.
what data are you talking about?
Well, one of the
Well,
issues
given-
that came up was we were getting the phone list from the garbage collection
Yeah.
company. And that didn't seem like really a good idea, because people were saying, wait a minute, you contracted with the garbage collection, and they have a right to my information, but they don't have a right
To give it to you.
give it to me.
Yeah, I understand that.
So,
Well, and we did go out to the public and get forms. We have a file full of people who have already completed their name, address, and forms. Unfortunately, there was a few extra items on there that probably should not have been on there. It should have just been name and address and phone number. Because then if they start giving you medical information, you're right, Mark, and then something happens and we didn't pass that along to the EMS or something, there could possibly be
I think
some.
it gives everybody a false sense of where the village's responsibility is
Right.
heading.
I'm still puzzled. I mean, I like the idea.
I do
So tell me
too.
why I shouldn't.
Just limit what you ask for,
Yeah.
and don't use somebody else's list.
Let me ask you, Joe, what do you like to be called about? What sort
Well,
of things do
yeah,
you like to be-
like for example, the leaf collection, there's a lot of people that don't read the paper or get the paper, whatever it is, and the leaf collection is gonna be X amount of, and, garbage or for whatever it is, or, or we're gonna have a power outage, or, the water's gonna be
Amber
turned
alert.
off, whatever it is. And it's just a nice way to notify the people and the public, so they have some
Well, the only one
advance
that I can see
warning.
leaf collection, a water outage has to be done house to house with the public works
Okay.
staff,
Yeah,
period.
I'm just using an
No, but
example. I'm just
but if you
saying,
break it down,
yeah,
and if there, the associated costs in the realm we might be getting into, not to be cavalier with what you like and don't like, but the finding out about the leaf collection, I don't think outweighs the other factors that I enumerated involved with this whole process and where it goes.
I don't know that I'm taking a position on this one way or the other, but ironically, this exact subject came up at the county board meeting today. Dispatch Director Casey Swetlick was presenting his annual report and talking about some of the technological advances and the things that are available. And one of the supervisors from New Richmond indicated that just within the last couple of days, they received a phone call under this notification system that now the technology is available to draw a circle around where you want the call to go. So this technology is available, and it includes people that have provided cell phone numbers. And the call was for a missing autistic boy in the city of New Richmond. And the call went out, and within 2 hours, and I don't know if there was a connection between the call going out and someone finding, but it did have a happy ending. But this supervisor was expressing appreciation that they got the phone call that indicated that in their community there was a missing autistic youngster, be on the lookout, here's what they were last wearing, and the boy was found, and happy ending. So, I mean, it's got a lot of applications that at first glance you may not see.
But this was this is people getting a call from the village, not somebody calling in to say they're missing a child. I
Yeah,
don't get where.
people were called, just like this. They had provided their phone numbers, people that wanted to be notified of something. So in this case, the residents got a phone call, and that's what this is. They would get a phone call.
Our police department could go on and put out a message, Amber Alert of some kind.
And I guess just from a staff's perspective, we get a number of calls from residents from time to time indicating that the village doesn't always do a great job of communicating, and, you know, they don't get the paper, and they don't, you know, watch the meetings, and they don't do this and that. It somehow becomes, the fault of the village that we aren't doing a good job of communicating things from time to time. So I think this was just maybe one possible solution to try to expand the communication that we have with the residents. And it's a fairly inexpensive way to do
When we
it.
set that thing up, it was a cost savings too. We
There
had
was
some.
free almost, or
It was
It's
pretty cheap.
very
Yeah, it
inexpensive
was
way to do
inexpensive,
it.
but then we were able to discontinue mailing some stuff out to the village and that sort of thing, it seemed to me. I thought that there was I was thinking that Jim was talking with maybe another organization or another municipality, and they had a problem, and he suggested this same kind of technique, and it seemed to work very, very well for him. I'd still like to know how we get in trouble if we have this. If we had a system like this, how is it that we would get in trouble
we do it
with a
right.
resident?
Yeah.
You just gotta do it
You're gonna
right.
have to limit what information you give. The last I heard about it was talk of providing who's in your house, what's there, so if the fire department or police don't show up, they don't start shooting holes in the doors and hit grandma on the couch or something. And that just posed huge implications in my mind. If it's name, address, thing, no, that was the idea. So if these guys show up, they know, there might be a dog in the house or something like that. So if you hear some noise, don't start shooting.
There was
That's what
stuff
it was
about
brought up.
people being diabetic reported on these forms, and I'm like, well, these forms don't go to EMS, and they don't go to the
We're not
police.
providing that information to anybody else. It's just so we can get their phone number so we can tell them what's up.
Right.
Yeah, if it's
But the
that-
form didn't,
Indicate that.
right, it
Okay,
had
well, I'd
spots
say
in it.
Let's have Jim talk about it the next time, but I'd say if,
As I started out, I want to throw this back to public welfare.
Yeah.
But you had it in your,
Yeah.
in your packet. I
So
want
we're
to
not-
talk about it.
So do we need to table this, or
Yeah, I would ask for a motion to table.
make a motion that we table the discussion on the
Either that or Joe.
voice broadcasting
Right.
system?
Just change it if we ask, just a motion to give it back to public welfare for further study.
Sure. Why don't you make the motion, and I'll
I
second.
just did.
They had a
I'll
great
second your
system on
motion.
Thank you.
Petticoat Junction in Green Acres, where you just got on the phone and everybody else was right there.
Hey, I grew up with a system like that.
As a child,
Party
we
line.
had as a
I had a
child, I
party
had
line.
party line.
I did too. Hey, as an adult, I had a party line.
Uncle Joe, he's moving kind of slow.
Yeah.
At the junction.
Oh, yeah, or
Mark, I do have the power to
John's got
adjourn
a
the
date
meeting,
with
I
but.
move to adjourn.
Can we need to make a, we need to,
vote on that
On this
motion.
one
Oh,
first.
we need
you
to
were
vote.
making, you made
Yeah,
a
motion on
motion.
the
We have a
floor.
motion on the table,
Way to
so.
go, way to go,
Aye.
Aye.
Becky.
Keep it
We all
going.
voted.
Aye.
I do have one other thing before we adjourn, and that is, we're moving into the holiday season, and you took the words right out of my mouth, Stan.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, George.
And we'll see you back here in January of the new year.
Oh.
Be careful out there, folks. Mark, now you
To
can,
adjourn.
do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning indicate by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody who gets an objection will arrest them.
Wasn't even interested in it.
Okay,